hero, and we love him, the Honorable Ed Whitfield. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Well, it's a beautiful day, and Mike and I are glad we finally arrived, even though I guess we're too late for our food, but oh, good. Well, you know, Mike always likes to eat, and but I want to thank all of you for coming out here this afternoon, and more important than that, I want to thank you for your involvement in our party and trying to elect what we believe are the right people to public office. I'm delighted that all of you are going to work hard for Stan Humphreys, sent him to the state senate up in Frankfort, Kentucky, and Ken Ives and I were in the state house back in the early 1970s, and I think we were both Democrats then, I believe, Ken. And I only stayed for 2 years, and I forgot how many years you stayed, Ken, but I left and got involved in the railroad industry, and Ken, when I came back, I decided, you know what, I don't want to be a Democrat anymore. So, in fact, I tell people that people often ask me, said, how is it that you grew up as a Democrat and you became a Republican? And the truth is that when I was in the railroad industry, I spent so much time in Washington, D.C. Working on railroad issues, and the one person that I continued to have issues with and had to work with on almost a weekly basis was Albert Gore Jr. And I tell people that Albert Gore Jr. is the one responsible for my becoming a Republican. Because, you know, Tennessee was very important to CSX, and we dealt with him on so many issues, and he would never be responsive to us. He was always arrogant. He did not care one whit about anything that we said about the jobs we created or the commodities that we moved to market. And I remember Connie and I were sitting around in Washington, D.C. one day, and we were sitting with some friends, and they said, you know, because I was telling them about how fed up I was with Democrats that controlled things in Washington, D.C. for 40 years at that time, and that Albert Gore particularly had not been very responsive. And they said, well, you know, if you're going to ever try to change that, you need to go back to the 1st District of Kentucky, and that's the kind of district that we need to win if we're ever going to change the leadership in Washington, D.C. So that really is how I ended up coming back, and I always said that Albert Gore is the one that really did it. And I also would like to remind people that Albert Gore would have been president of the United States had he not lost his home state of Tennessee and his home congressional district. They didn't even vote for him either. But you know, this election is so important. I know we talk about important elections, but I get so upset about Barack Obama, because Barack Obama, he says one thing, he does another. You know how he talks about his concern for those people who need help the most, his concern about middle-class Americans, and I think about the millions of dollars, even billions of dollars that he funneled into supporters of his, like George Kaiser of Oklahoma, who controlled Solyndra. And through the Department of Energy, they gave Solyndra $538 million. And Barack Obama was out there. Vice President Biden was out in California when they had the grand opening. And they said they were going to create over 1,000 new jobs at the Solyndra plant out in California. And as you know, they're now in bankrupt. And guess what? The 4 other projects that they financed after Solyndra, A123 battery system, for example, just announced yesterday they were going bankrupt. Beacon Power went bankrupt. And so the very first 5 projects that they funded through the stimulus package all went bankrupt. But what is worse than that on Solyndra and some of these other companies, not only did they give them $538 million in tax dollars, but the lawyers for George Kaiser, and don't forget, he raised over $1 million for Barack Obama's presidential campaign 4 years ago. But his lawyers met with White House lawyers and Department of Energy lawyers, and they reached an agreement that if Solyndra did go bankrupt, that George Kaiser and his friends that provided some of the private capital, they would get their money back first, and if there was any money left, the taxpayers would get their money. And guess what? There's no money left. So we have a president who's always out there talking about how Republicans represent wealthy Americans, and yet he's funneling millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars to his wealthy friends. And then when they go bankrupt, the taxpayers get paid back last. And if there's no money available, they get nothing. And that's precisely what has happened with this stimulus fund through the 1705 Department of Energy program. And the sad thing about it is we find ourselves today with a president who's, instead of having a sound policy to stimulate our economy, he had two basic goals when he took office. One, he wanted to change the way that we delivered and used energy in America. And two, he wanted to federalize health care. And he did federalize health care. And you remember he went around the country telling everybody there's no new taxes in this health care bill. There are 21 new taxes in health care. And don't forget, when they brought that 2,400-page bill to the House floor, being changed right up to the minute it went to the House floor, that Speaker Pelosi adopted a rule that would not allow anyone to offer one amendment to the bill. So this is a bill that will have impact on every aspect of healthcare in America, have impact on every healthcare provider and every consumer of healthcare products in America, and you cannot offer one amendment to change even one period or sentence in the bill. And yet this is the president who said, we need to work in a bipartisan way. And you remember, he said, when he started this health care bill, he said, we're going to have a transparent system. You can go on C-SPAN and watch the debate and the negotiations on this health care bill. There was never 1 minute of C-SPAN coverage of the negotiation on the health care bill. And the reason there wasn't is because the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies, who, as you remember, President Obama criticizes on a daily basis, they were at the White House writing the bill with him. Yeah. And the reason that the pharmaceutical industry spent $50 million buying ads across America to support the health care bill was because Barack Obama agreed with them that they would not allow drug reimportation in this health care bill. And that's why the pharmaceutical industry spent $50 million buying ads to support the legislation. And of course, the health insurance companies, they supported it because if your employer does not provide insurance for you, you're not on Medicare, and you're not on Medicaid, you're not on the veterans' health care, then you're going to be required to buy your own health insurance. So obviously, the health insurance companies wanted this because of the mandate that if you didn't buy insurance, then you're going to be penalized. So this is not a president that's out there very much concerned in looking after the welfare of average Americans. He is simply out there taking care of his wealthy friends, saying what he thinks the American people want to say. And as I said, all he really was trying to do was federalize health care in this first term and change the way we produce and utilize energy in America. You know, he talks a lot about electric cars and these battery companies, A123 batteries. And he spent millions of dollars with Fisker Automotive and Tesla Automotive. And they do have electric cars now, but they cost over $100,000 per car. How many average Americans can afford that? So this president has misled the American people. He's tried to portray himself in a way as a person that he is not. In fact, I've ran into people who actually served in the state senate with him in Illinois. And not only did he have a horrible voting record in Illinois in that he seldom voted because of absenteeism, but they said that he sat back in the back room, and there's nothing wrong with playing poker, but they said most times he was back in the back room in Illinois, Springfield, playing poker. So this is a guy that we do not need to lead America. And I hope that all of you do. And how many presidents do you know, when they are running for president, as he was 4 years ago, tell the American people that one of the things he's going to do is to bankrupt an industry in America?
Right.
And you recall, he said, you can build a coal-powered plant if I'm elected president, but we're going to bankrupt you. And guess what? If EPA finalizes their greenhouse gas regulation that they've already proposed, they've already had the comments on it, and they intend to finalize it by the end of this year, if they finalize it, no one will be able to build a coal-powered plant in America. And guess what? You cannot build enough windmills or solar panels to meet our electrical needs in this country that we expect to increase by 50% by the year 2035. So I'm running for Congress again because I want to do everything possible to make sure we can reverse some of the damage that this president has done. And and guess what? If we are fortunate enough to win the White House and we can keep the House, and we're going to be expected to deliver, and we're going to have to reduce the size of government. We're going to have to close programs down in the Department of Energy and at HHS and at education. Because when you have a $16 trillion federal debt that's leaving an obligation and a responsibility on the young people in America, America cannot be prosperous the way it has throughout all these years with that kind of federal debt, where for every dollar that we're spending, we're borrowing about 35 or 36 cents from the Chinese. So we've got to turn this country around, and you all are the key to doing that. And I want to tell you, I look forward to working with you. I look forward to working with Stan Humphreys, with Kenny Imes. And I wish that our state senator, Ken Winters, was back here with us. But we want to give him a big hand because he did such a great job in Frankfurt and as president of the Campbellsville University. I told Ken I always had a lot of respect for him, but you know, now Washington County and Taylor County and Marion counties in this 1st congressional district, and of course Taylor County is where Campbellsville University is, and I've been up there 3 or 4 times over the last couple of weeks, and everywhere I go I see his picture of Campbellsville University. I see dorms named after him, dining halls named after him, and although I had great respect for him, I have more respect now, Kenny, because they don't even ask me my name, who I am, or what I'm doing. They just say, do you know Ken Winters? And I said, yes, I do. I know him. So thank you all for all that you do. Thank you for the support of our party. I hope that you'll join us in trying to reverse these policies of Barack Obama, turn our country around, restore fiscal discipline, and get America back in the traditions that we believe in and to follow our Constitution. Thank you very much.